Hello and welcome to the Vision-Led Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Arin. I am the founder of the Jasmine and Juniper brand and the creator of the Moon Magic Method. I am on a mission to remind you that your intuition is always guiding you to your divine purpose. You were born at this time for a very important reason, and the time is now to shine in your truth. On the show, we talk about listening to your intuition, cultivating a successful mindset, next level leadership, and conscious capitalism. If you are new here, welcome. You're in the right place if you are a visionary leader ready to up-level your health and live in line with your true calling. Welcome to season 3. If you're listening to the podcast and you're like, Arin, you are a little late. I was unable to record my episode on Tuesday because the power went out at my house. We have wildfires here in Southern Oregon, and I need to get a generator set up. So my apologies. Thank you for being patient. The wait is going to be well worth it. Today on the show, we are talking to Deana Jean. Deana is a Brooklyn-born professional speaker, master connector, and launch strategist with over 15 years of sales, leadership, and training experience. She is also a proud breast cancer survivor. Through Intentional Excellence Consulting LLC, Deana and her team serve entrepreneurs and mission-focused organizations across 22 states and 4 continents. As an event Emcee, keynote speaker, consultant, and coach, with a focus on building authentic connections to create extraordinary relationships that lead to intentional success. Deana, welcome to the podcast. You're muted.
Muted. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I always mute when folks are doing intros on podcasts. I do a number of them because I do live in New York City. So from time to time, you will hear a garbage truck or a motorcycle or some loud stuff. So I'm here and the sound is on. I'm excited to be able to chat with you today.
Awesome. How is New York right now? I always love that city. I think about it often. What's happening there?
You know what? It's very humid here these days. It's awesome though. I'm born and raised in New York City. I'm a Brooklyn girl. So it's one of my 2 favorite times to be in the city. So I love being in the city in the summer because there's always something that's happening in New York City in the summertime. And there's a ton of free stuff. Like you can walk down, pick your corner, pick your avenue, and get like a full-on show or like a festival or anything like that. My second favorite time of year to be in the city is the holidays, just because it's nice to be able to go to Rockefeller Center and the snow and people are bundled up and people are being really nice to each other. So it's good. It's good here right now. It's one of my favorite times of year.
Right before I got on the podcast, my husband is a hip hop artist. Shameless plug, the inspirational rapper, go look him up on iTunes. He told me that today is hip hop's birthday. So I bet there is some kind of cool festival.
I'm sure there is all types of stuff. I was just actually with my hairstylist, and we were looking at something this week. Is Harlem Week too. So again, New York, there's never any, drought of things to do here.
I got to jump on a plane and come out there because I am the opposite. I'm in a little country town, and like the big exciting thing that happened this week was the farmers market.
Listen, I love a good farmers market. I'm all about it. That sounds exciting to me.
So I have a couple of icebreaker questions for you, and I can't wait to find out the answer because this is always so fun to learn a little bit about my guests. So what is your favorite hype song? Like when you are getting ready for your big event, you're going to go out on stage. Yeah. What do you put on the stereo?
Oh my gosh. So there could be a number of them. So one of them is Rock Boys by Jay-Z. So my husband's much more of a hip hop head than I am. I'm more of an R&B girl, but I love old school hip hop too. So Rock Boys by Jay-Z. I also like Sierra Level Up. I just think that song just like gets you really moving, jazzed and excited. And then of course, Beyonce, Girls Run the World. That's you. I mean, before you go into a presentation, you gotta do that, right? So I would say a combination of those. If I had all three of those playing, it's gonna be a good day.
Yeah, I want to listen to your hype up playlist. So make that, please.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a big snack person. I can't watch a TV show without a snack. So I'm always curious, what is your favorite snack? Are you not a snacker?
I'm not a huge snacker, but I do have an affinity for, and my husband snacks a lot. Like he likes candy and and my kids, of course. For me though, I really like a good Chex Mix. Like if you give me a good Chex Mix, that, and I also like simple snacks. Like I like pistachios a lot. So that would be
Pistachios are good. Yeah, I love that trail mix that has like the raisins, peanuts, and little M&Ms in there. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the last question. If you could have a coffee chat or tea with one person who is alive, already passed away, who would that person be?
This is so interesting. So I actually would probably say, if I were able to, I actually think that I would want to meet my great grandmother on my dad's side, my dad's paternal grandmother. So my great grandmother on my dad's side, paternal. And because she just seemed like she was a really, really interesting person. She was half Irish, half Black, and chose to just kind of go down. She could have chosen her path, and she chose to go down the path that was much less traveled, and that was probably a lot harder for her. But because of it, she created this tremendous life. And if she would not have chosen that path, I wouldn't be here because she probably would have married someone else and done other things. And I hear stories about her, but I never got to meet her in person. So I would say her.
Oh yeah, I love thinking about like my great grandmother or before her. I always do this thing in my moon circles where I kind of pull in like I'm the daughter, and then I say my mom's name, and then I say she's the daughter, and I say her mom's name.
Yeah.
But I can only go
So
to
far.
my grandma's mother.
Wow.
And then I don't know
That's
who
so
the rest of them are. And so
Yeah.
it's a good reminder. I'm glad you told me this because my grandma is 98 years old. And I
My
feel
grandma
like
is
she
5.
is,
Yeah.
oh wow, it's so cool when people are able to live that long. And my grandma just got over COVID, so she also survived COVID. She's amazing. And you're reminding me that I need to have a little talk with her and be like, tell me about
Tell me more things. That's exactly the same thing with us. My grandpa, my granddad on my mom's side, my paternal granddad, my maternal granddad passed away in 2016, and he was very much a talker, and he had such a rich history. And actually, one of the signature talks that I give is almost like an oration of his history and how it transcends into kind of how I became who I am today. And it wasn't until after he passed where I really started to realize, first of all, you always know everyone like is going to die at some point or they're going to move on. But that's when it became very real. And that's when we really started documenting things with my grandma a lot, like asking her a lot more questions. And a couple of years later, she actually ended up being diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And the interesting part of that, though, is that she'll forget what she had for breakfast like yesterday, but she can tell you verbatim like what was going on at like September of 1942. So wow. we I have a cousin who was a producer and one who's a director. So we have a lot of video and things like that. So it is a great reminder to just keep having those conversations because you're going to wish that you could go back on them and reflect and be able to pass that information on.
It's so true. So perfect segue. We want to hear your story. Who are you? What is your business about? And more importantly, what was your journey to becoming an entrepreneur?
Sure. Yeah. We don't even have enough time to, this could be like 12 different conversations, right? But ultimately, long story short is that I am, as you mentioned, a Brooklyn native, and my business is that I actually do two things. There are two things that I'm very well known for. The first is that I'm a master connector. As a master connector, I pride myself on being able to connect powerhouse women together. Women who are mission focused and choosing to be extraordinary every single day. I love to bring them together to be able to create something amazing. And then the second thing that I am known for is I'm a business strategist. So most often I am working with those women in ways to be able to take a business that they've been able to grow by grit and by will, and to actually put some strategy behind it so that they can be working on instead of in their business more often. My journey to entrepreneurship is very non-traditional. I am a first generation entrepreneur. I come from a pedigree of very, very hard workers who were salt of the earth people and are very loyal people, people who are just the most honest and intentional people that you'll ever meet. But I am the first generation of entrepreneurship. So my background is actually in sales leadership and training. I spent a little over 15 years in the educational technology industry working as a sales consultant for C-level and C-suite, so for executives, and for companies and organizations that were preparing for mergers and acquisitions. And back in 2016, I was doing very well in that job. I was making more money than I could have ever imagined that I would make. I had a remote work schedule before a lot of people who have gone through COVID now had one. But I also had a 10-day-a-month travel schedule. I'm a mom of 3. My husband at the time was still a military service member. He actually just retired in February, and I was exhausted. And ultimately, what I realized was that I was running myself ragged, and it just kind of felt like what needed to be done. It felt like it was a very, very small price to pay to be able to live the life that I was living. And I was not going to require myself to make a change until I had to make a change. And what ended up happening was that in 2016, when I was 5.5 months pregnant with my daughter, with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old son, I was diagnosed during my pregnancy with stage 2B breast cancer. Without a family history of breast cancer, I was 34 years old. And that was something that literally halted everything in my life. And the interesting part of it is that it is probably, when I look back on it, probably one of the only things that would have ever made me stop, right? I was the type of person where I was always going. I was always persevering. Even if I wasn't well and didn't feel well, you got to push through, right? The grit. And when I found myself on the end of that diagnosis, I had to make some decisions really quickly about what I was going to do. But most importantly, I had to make some decisions about what was important. And I had to galvanize a team of people around me to be able to help me to help myself and to help my family. And ultimately, we ended up doing something tremendous. We ended up creating a miracle. And I was able to go through those breast cancer treatments while pregnant with my daughter and delivering a very healthy baby girl. She's actually on her way to the 1st grade in a couple of weeks. And the interesting part of it, though, Arin, is that when I came back, the company that I was working with they were tremendous, no issues at all. They did everything that they could do for me. But it was interesting because when I came back, everything around me felt smaller. I felt too big for it, right? Here it was just a few months prior to that, I felt honored and privileged to have the opportunity to serve this company in this specific way, to be in this role. And when I got through this diagnosis, ultimately what I did was I actually enacted the superhero inside of me. And at the end of the day, I realized that there were things that I didn't even realize that I was capable of. And that the life that I was living at that point with the work that I was doing wasn't big enough. And ultimately, I ended up stepping out and starting consulting. I went from a W-2 employee to consulting in a 3-week period of time, put a very, very big bet on myself. and it paid off. And that was how the company actually got started. And it's grown in that 2.5-year period of time to just be a tremendous business that serves the most amazing entrepreneurs that I have a privilege of engaging with every single day. So that is who I am. That is how I got started. And that is where we kind of are today.
I love that story so much, because what I hear in there, what I hear you saying, and maybe you can expound on this, is when you cross that bridge of surviving breast cancer, because I imagine there's a moment where you go, I don't know if I'm going to survive or not.
100%.
You have this baby also in you, which, when we've got a baby inside of us, we become those mama bears.
All the things, 2 on the outside, 1 on the inside. So it's like,
yeah, you're like, I need to handle this.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is you came out the other side almost like there was something divine about you.
Absolutely.
I'm hearing that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I've always been a person of faith, right? And I think that oftentimes, especially when you grow up in families that are religious, right? That you're not always required to understand and to test your own faith, because you just go about doing what other people have done, right? You're like, yes, I'm a believer in God because I believe he did these and that and this, right? And then you have these experiences that actually require you to create your own relationship, but also to be able to hear the messages that are custom tailored for you, and to realize the power that lives within you, right? And how it can transform things around you, and manifestation and all of that. So yeah, started to realize like there's something very divine that has been implanted inside of me. And that was the first time that I realized, and I came to the realization that, a lot of times people say, for those who believe in God or believe in a higher power, that, God gives you your gift. You're born and then God gives you your gift. I actually believe that your gift comes first. I believe that your gift comes first, and that you are created for that thing. And when I went through what I went through with my breast cancer journey, that was when I truly was able to walk into what my gift was.
Yeah, I agree with you. I believe that there's so many, if you just think about the act of procreation, there's so many potential souls.
Right.
That could come into this world, and you came.
You, exactly. Like, millions.
that has to be something. And I'm talking to every single listener. There's not a single
100%.
person on the planet that isn't meant to be here. And when you really understand that you're a divine child of God, put on this planet for a very specific purpose. And I know what you're talking about, the superhero.
Yeah, it's the superhero thing, right? So I don't know if you follow Lovey Ajayi, but Lovey Ajayi is an influencer. And she's actually Ghanaian American. And she is based in Chicago. And she has this book called The Professional Troublemaker. And she talks about exactly what you mentioned. She's like, the fact that you are here means that you yourself are 1 in a million. Why? Because of all of the sperm and all of the eggs you actually took, right? She's like, so the fact that you even got born, like you are so far ahead of the game than others are. And when you think about it that way, it's like, how miraculous and amazing is that, regardless of what you believe in, even from a scientific perspective, even, it's tremendous to think about it.
Yeah, you're strong and you're amazing and you're here to do something. And I also believe that you're something, like you could be put here on this planet to be an incredible janitor.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean you have to like go create some huge business, but if you approach your life and your calling and your mission in that way, then you create a ripple effect. So
absolutely. And I always say to my clients and the people that I engage with, at the end of the day, whatever it is that you do, whatever you're called on this earth to do, if you do it to maximum capacity and with intention, you will absolutely be known for that thing. Think about the movie The Butler, right? This is someone who was born into a life of service. Who would think that being a butler would be something that would, allow someone to have movies made, to be able to serve presidents? And then at the end of the day, because he put everything that he had into that role, look what it created for him. So I completely agree with that.
That's a great example. Okay, well, I love your story, and I'd really like to hear more about what you did to keep your mindset in the place it needed to be to get through the cancer journey.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, I want people listening and watching this to realize and to understand, I do not want to minimize in any way, shape, or form the adverse effects of going through these cancer treatments, right? I came out on the other end, but it still stands to be the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. And I'm glad it's done, right? So that's that part. But me having a growth mindset around it, me being able to focus on what I could control, I believe made my journey much easier than others who have been going through the same exact journey. So how did I do that? I am very big on surrounding yourself with the type of energy that is going to charge you, and that is going to feed you, and that is going to make you be successful. So that was the first time that I truly and really started to understand the importance of boundaries. I only allowed the energy that I knew that was going to fuel me and to help me and to allow me to be who I was in my space during that time. The great part is that I carried that over after that time too, right? So I surrounded myself with a tribe of people who were there to support me, to help me, not to pity me, right? Also, not people who were minimizing what I was doing and what was going on. People who gave me the grace that I needed to push through, and people who really and truly were there to be able to help and to support. So I believe that the folks that you surround yourself with, whether you're going through a diagnosis, or whether you're launching your business, or whether you're looking to take a big leap in your life, whether you're trying to leave a relationship, whether you're trying to start something new, the energy that you surround yourself with is ultimately going to determine how successful or unsuccessful you are.
That concept was absolutely groundbreaking for me on my entrepreneurial journey. The day I realized, I still remember where I was, what I was wearing, who I was with, because that wisdom just hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
I think because I'm a caring and nurturing person, so I would tend to surround myself with people who needed to be healed.
Right.
Which maybe that's part of my calling and my service. But if I want to go to big heights, if I want to overcome an illness, if I want to launch a business, I have to create, I call it like my stadium. Who's in my stadium?
That's right.
And are they cheering for me, or are they pulling me down?
Right.
It can be a hard truth to get.
It's true.
But it's so, so important. And I love that you're bringing that up.
Yeah, it's critically important. And I have to tell you, it's been just as important to me in my entrepreneurial journey as it was in my breast cancer journey, to surround myself with people who were not toxic, right? And who saw even what I couldn't see, right? People who can see a mile ahead and say, yep, this is what you're working toward, versus the people that are going to let you wallow in the complexity and the challenges of maybe what your current reality is. So I agree with that 100%.
And I have a tip if there's any listeners right now who are like, wow, my family's toxic, my friends are toxic, my work is toxic. Like, if I were to cut out the toxic people, I'd have no one. This is my word of advice. Don't worry about cutting them out. Crowd them out. And you can crowd them out by listening to podcasts like this, by reading books, by watching documentaries, like the people that can inspire you and be a part of that inner circle. If they're not real live people that you know, and you kind of can't cut ties with everyone in your life, then just crowd them out. Start to listen to these incredible people that have gone before us, and they're ready. Like with modern technology, you can hang out.
A great example of this is even how we met, Arin, right? A great example of this. So I got onto the Clubhouse app probably about a year later than everyone else did, because I was kind of avoiding it for a few different reasons, and then got onto it and ultimately ended up meeting people who changed not just the trajectory of my business, but the trajectory of my life. And one of those people was Natalie Bullen, who's an amazing speaker, wealth mindset coaching consultant. And Natalie is actually the bridge between myself and Arin, because Natalie created a community in Facebook called the Inner Circle. And the Inner Circle has networking sessions. And Arin and I met through one of those networking sessions. Look at all of those degrees, right? Think about where else, and it's not impossible, but where else would Arin and I have been able to make a connection in order to create what we're creating right now? This wouldn't exist without literally 5 to 6 degrees of connection and intention and action. What does that mean? You yourself can control so much more than you believe you can control, just by the small things that you choose to do with intention every single day. You don't have to just be limited by geographically what you're surrounded by, especially with technology, right? So I love that point.
And Natalie, the creator of Clubhouse, the creator of Facebook,
right?
They're all vision-led entrepreneurs that followed their calling. So I think we're trying to, like, gentle love here, tell you, do it, step into your superpower, go for it.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Oh my gosh, I could talk to you forever. We're already at the half an hour mark, so
we're good. No problem. Listen, I know you got a timetable. We're good.
But you know what, the listeners, you're so blessed today, because what Deana has for you is a complimentary 30-minute strategy call. This is a $500 value. Take her up on this. There's a few of you listening. I know who you are. You need to book this call with Deana. So if you go in the show notes, you'll see her Calendly link. You'll see her website. I'm going to put that book you recommended in the show notes as well. And connect with Deana and see if there's some magic that you all can make. Because you know what, too? If I believed that I wasn't worthy of connecting with someone of your stature, your experience, I could easily shy away from that. So if there's someone listening that's like, oh, I could never, don't listen to that, because you have no idea what could happen in a connection call.
I am a Brooklyn girl, born in Bushwick, Brooklyn. My grandfather didn't learn to read until he was 65 years old. We were just talking about grandparents. And, I've had the opportunity to lead an extraordinary life through intention. But at the end of the day, I'm an ordinary person. And I love connecting with ordinary people, because what you see as my genius inside of me, that lives inside of you. And my favorite thing to do is to help you to identify that thing and then take it and run with it so that you can walk in your genius. So I'd love to chat with any of y'all.
Oh, thank you, Deana. I appreciate your time today. It's been amazing chatting with you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the listeners for coming in today. If you're listening to this podcast and you think of someone, if somebody pops into your mind and you're like, they need to hear this, please take the time to share a link with them, tell them that you were thinking about them, and even have a connection call with them afterwards to talk about what you learned. Deana and I are bringing to the forefront here that connecting and deepening your relationships can lead to so much, not only health, but financial advancement. And most importantly, that feeling, that superpower feeling that Deana is talking about, of living in line with your true purpose. So in closing, do you have any last thoughts for us? Deana?
No, again, I really appreciate the time. I appreciate having had the opportunity to engage with you and with your listeners today, your viewers today, Arin. And what I would say is, y'all, I talk a lot with my clients about getting into action. And one of the first steps, I have a framework called Ready, Fire, Aim. And the ready part is what I want to leave you with, right? And this is the idea that whatever the idea is in your head, if you have something in your mind that you are considering doing, that you think you might want to breathe into, the fact that it's already in your mind actually means that that idea is ready. It's already ready. Now what you have to do is just get yourself to feel ready. And the way that you get yourself to feel ready is a point we made earlier. Start to surround yourself with people who will not allow you to not do it. That's all you need to do.
Yes, love it. Okay, everybody, have a fabulous day, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Take care.